Started. All right. So welcome to the Remarketing Podcast. My name is Jerome Lewis. I am your host, and I want to tell you a little bit about our podcast structure. So here we go. Our purpose here, our content is marketing, tech, and business leadership for real estate agents, real estate investors, and real estate entrepreneurs. We have two purposes, right? The first purpose, Ronna, is to spotlight you, your business, your service, or your product in a way that provides value to you, including market exposure and content creation. Our second purpose is to educate and inform our audience and listeners. All right, so Ronna, welcome to the podcast. Could you tell us a little bit? Tell us a little bit about you, and then we're going to get into some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Ronna Abdo. I am a Pennsylvania licensed realtor with Realty Mark in King of Prussia. I currently service the Philadelphia metro area, which includes Delaware County, Montgomery County, and I'll even go into Chester County and Bucks County, and hoping to get licensed in New Jersey soon, as well as Delaware, and expand from there. And thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Welcome to the podcast. And I'm going to start it off with some questions. So your expertise is you are a real estate agent and a realtor, right?
Yes.
Okay. So my first question to you is, what is a common myth about your business, your field of expertise that people have in your experience?
I think for me, the most common myth is realtors are just salespeople. We're pushy, like you salesmen. And, you know, for me, I'm not like that. I definitely put my clients first. I don't do any transaction or anything within the transaction that I wouldn't do for my own transaction for my own home. And I just kind of let the clients lead, but with my guidance. So if they're comfortable, I'm comfortable. If they're not comfortable, I'm not comfortable. So, there's no pushy sales here. I just really just work with my clients to take them to their ultimate goal, which is to own real estate or sell a property. And as long as they're happy, I'm fulfilled as a professional as well.
Got you. I understand what you're talking about. I want to ask you, has anybody you ever hear them say realtors are just glorified door openers? You ever hear that one?
I have heard that, not from my clients, but I've definitely heard it from in trainings and things like that. But I think once we get into the contract and into the transaction, people really understand our value and what it is that we bring to the table. I mean, but purchasing a house is one of the largest transactions that most people do in their lifetime. So, I mean, you don't want to go into it like you're purchasing something off of Amazon. You really need to understand the contract. You need to understand the transaction and understand, your role, the seller's role, or, if you are the seller, then the buyer's role, and understand, what your rights are as a consumer at this point, and how to best navigate it.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I'm big on hiring professionals. But I find it hard to convince people to hire professionals. And even if you don't hire professionals, like you said earlier, like real estate, like that's one of the largest transactions you're going to make in your life. So I think it's worth it. I don't know what we can do to convince people, but they need to understand how important that is. I've seen countless stories where they went for sale by owner and they didn't get as much out of the property because they were trying to cut out the real estate professional. So I agree with you. I understand 100%. And that's part of the reason why I want to bring, put spotlight on these professions, how important it is to hire professionals, including real estate agents, because I'm a real estate agent myself. So I want the audience and listeners to understand how important that is. I want to ask you another question. We're going to get into another question. So right now, what is your biggest challenge that you're facing in your business? Could you talk about that?
Well, there are multiple. I mean, right now I'm trying to scale my business to be a little bit larger. At this point, I have great clients who refer me all the time, and I so appreciate it. But I do want to reach out to people that may not have my name as a household name, or they may not know to reach out to me. So I am working on marketing and things like that to get my name kind of out there and scale my business a little bit larger. So that is one challenge. And then, of course, this market is very challenging with buyers. As a realtor yourself, I mean, the inventory is low, prices are going up, and it's just kind of hard getting people who really want a home into the right home at the right price, you know, without getting that kind of buyer fatigue after putting in so many multiple offers. But listen, if you're willing to stay the course, I'm willing to stay the course. So it is what it is.
Absolutely. And so you're, let me ask you, what's one of the most common questions that you get as a real estate agent from buyers and then even sellers?
I mean, it depends. I mean, most people just want to really be educated on the transaction. I work with a lot of first time home buyers, so they're really starting from square one. People are, you know, have the misconception, oh, I need 20% down, I can't afford this. Um, you know, so I kind of try to explain it and break through some of those myths, because purchasing a house back in 1960 when, you know, your grandmother did it may not be the same here 22 when it's your turn to move forward. So, you know, I do try to kind of break through the myths, but everybody has different questions. I mean, some people are concerned with the down payment, some people, you know, are not sure about credit score, things like that. Sellers, you know, especially in this market, they think they're going to go on the market and automatically going to sell for well over asking without kind of putting in too much work on their end. So, I mean, it's just about education and just kind of navigating this market, educating them in general, and then also showing them what we're in as far as this current market is concerned.
Okay, so what I pull from what you just said, and I'm thinking about this in a way where we can help like anybody listening, like understand and get that education. So number one, I pulled a point on down payment. A lot of people don't have a firm understanding on the down payment that you need. So that's one that you can help them with. Number two is credit score. They don't have a firm understanding on the credit score that you need. And then I want to say, what are three other things that you can think of that they need to absolutely know regarding a transaction?
I think it's important to understand. I mean, people think, okay, I'm buying this house. It's like a car. You get what you get, but it's not really like that. I mean, you do have opportunity to go in, do your inspections, make sure that everything is in working order. You do have a chance to go back to the seller to ask for certain things if they're willing. I mean, everything is a negotiation really until we get down to the closing table, and no two transactions are the same. So I can guide you in the beginning. I think what I usually do is give like a general, this is what usually can happen. But what I've noticed is everybody's transaction is different. I mean, every day in real estate is something new. There's never a dull moment. And what happened with one person may not happen with another. So, I mean, I just try to kind of roll with the tides, and as things come up, I'll explain them. These are your options. This is what you can do. Um, so, I mean, I think that that is one misconception. Like people just are like, you know, kind of scared, like, well, what if something's wrong with the house? Or, but those are things that we do find out up front, or, you know, can navigate through before you're actually at the closing table.
Okay, I appreciate that. So I pulled a few things from it. I'm pretty good at this, right? You know, you got an ebook coming out,
Yeah, very
right?
good.
So we have down payment, we have credit score, we have inspections, negotiations, expectations, and options, right? So those are all points that
Yes.
you addressed. And what I'm going to do for you, like what we do here, is we're going to take this interview, right? We're going to get your answers around each of those topics, and we're going to turn it into some kind of content for you. So
Okay.
just so you know. Yep, absolutely. So, all
Oh,
right,
very
next
good.
question is, in your opinion, right, what is the most important personality trait or strength someone needs to have in your business?
Definitely patience.
Patience.
Uh, there are things that come up that you have to be able to kind of roll with the tides. I mean, one of my clients, she was like, nothing bothers you. And it's really, it's not that nothing bothers me, but I mean, I have to be able to find a solution for everything that comes up. I can't just, as your professional, you hired me, I can't be like, oh, well, I don't know, you know, like you figure it out. No, I have to be able to figure out everything. So I think somebody who can be patient with everything that comes up. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities at a time, a lot of issues within the transaction. Um, and somebody that kind of is resourceful as well. Like, I don't have all the answers, right? Nobody knows everything, but I will definitely find out That is one thing about me. If I don't know it right now, I'm gonna reach out to 6 other people that may be in that area of expertise. It might be a title person, my broker, whoever, to find out what is the best option for you for an issue that may have come up that may not be something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So it is like a little unique in nature. So you definitely have to be resourceful, patient, and good with people, because you're dealing with so many people within the transaction, especially as a buyer's agent.
Okay, so I pulled patience, perseverance, solution oriented / resourceful, and people oriented. Does that sound
Yes,
about right? Okay,
I
perfect.
believe
All right.
so.
All right. So next question we have for
And
you
knowledgeable.
is in knowledgeable. Okay. Next question that we
Mhm.
have is, what's one piece of advice that you would give someone starting out in your career?
In my um definitely get with a good brokerage that can help you to learn. I right now I'm with a brokerage I was with a brokerage previously that was much more education heavy. Of course, I did have a higher split and I was paying more money, but in the beginning I needed that. I looked at it like, you're paying for school. I'm paying more per transaction to my brokerage, but I'm getting so much more training that I could take along with me in my career. So I think that that is really the most important thing, because I mean, you and I both know, we go to real estate class, we learn a lot about, the ins and outs of I don't know, how to measure meets and bounds, and certain things that you don't necessarily encounter on the day-to-day aspect. So you still need that education as you're going forward. I mean, it's not something that I would just jump in. You don't have anybody to kind of lean on or ask questions to, and then you're kind of lost in the mix. So I think education is important. So when you're interviewing with your brokerages, you should be asking them, what sort of education do you have? Do you have a mentorship program? Can I pay for a coaching? And all of these things do cost. I mean, I think it's difficult for some people, even myself, because I came from, a 9 to 5, more of like a W-2 job. And this is not a job. Nobody is going to pay you to come in every day. You're going in on your own time. You're paying for everything. Every question that you ask, you're paying your coach, you're paying your mentor, and you're paying your brokerage for all of these things. So definitely go into it with knowing that you need the education and making sure that you have more of an entrepreneurial mindset. You're going to be
Okay.
putting out more than you're getting back, for sure.
So what I pulled from that was, you need education, you need mentorship, coaching, and entrepreneurship is
Yes.
essential. Okay, cool. So that's the recap. All right, now we want to learn more about Ronna, right? So I'm going to ask you some personal questions. And the first
Sure.
personal question I have about you is, what do people misunderstand about you most?
I'm very direct. I'm not to say I'm not big on small talk. You can talk to me about anything, but if I'm contacting you about a certain something, I'm not going to say, how was your day? Da, da, da. I mean, not to say I don't care about your day, but I'm very direct. So I think some people may think it's me being rude, but I just want to kind of get to the purpose, to kind of like get through what it is we need to get through. I am very nice, but I think some people may think, okay, she's a little standoffish, but I'm not at all.
I have, that's my same issue. People are always like, he's mean, he's an a-hole, because I'm very direct. And it's not because I
Yeah,
don't want any bother, it's just because I'm trying to help you as much as possible. And the way we
right,
kind of do
right.
that is by being direct, like getting to the answer, getting to the source, and we can't worry about those other things. So yeah, you're like the first person I heard say that. I thought you were going to say something else, because that's my biggest issue. People are like, you can do it a different way, and you can, and look, it's just how I am. Okay, just a
And
little bit
and you know
direct.
what? A little bit like, to put on top of that, me personally, I find it rude if you're trying to coddle me and not tell me what's going on. I'm just like, get to the point already. So I approach people that way, but I also have to realize everybody isn't
Right.
receptive to that. So I do have to kind of shape my responses in that way too. But growing up here in the Northeast, I don't know about you, but we get right to it. There's no reason to coddle you or kind of like, you know,
Oh, I
baby
like you. I
you
like
through the
that. Yeah.
transaction.
Have you ever heard of the like this behavior assessments?
I have.
Do you know what
I have
yours?
not taken mine, no.
You never take it? Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
love
need
those
to.
assessments because yeah, you should. It's a good one to have. And I'm like really high in D and then like personality is like I and I'm like really low. And it's not because I don't care, but I just care about the result, like helping you get the result.
Right.
And it just when you're that way, you come off a different way. And each have pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses. Like nobody can be perfect. So
Of
it is what it
course.
is. And I've tried changing and adjusting to some people and it just never works. So I like to just be who I am and people
Yeah.
kind of
Because it comes
misunderstand.
off disingenuous,
Yeah,
of course.
exactly. All right. Next question I have for you is if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
um, I I want to be remembered for somebody that was always there to help. I mean, although I may come off standoffish, or maybe somebody may think I'm rude, I really do this work to help people. I would do this, they say, what would you do if you weren't getting paid? I would do this if I wasn't getting paid, for sure. I mean, I don't want to see anybody in a situation where they're, getting taken for their money or things like that. So I just want to be remembered for somebody that really just wanted to help and kind of stays the course. I mean, I do try to lend a hand wherever I can in my personal life, strangers, clients, family. And I hope people see that. I mean, I don't do it for the accolades, but you know, that is who I
Nice.
am.
So what's the best compliment you ever received? That's the next question.
The best compliment I ever received, I touched on it a little bit, but I did have a client. We had like a difficult transaction, and I just kind of stayed very level headed, straight to the point, figured out everything. And she was just like, oh, Ronna, like, you don't get upset, you don't get stressed out ever. And I'm glad that my clients see that, because if I'm stressed out or I get flustered, what's the result for you? And it's not, I mean, it does seem like, I feel like any realtor should be like that, but I don't see that all the time with a lot of my colleagues. And that's just something that I strive for, just to make sure that everything is taken care of and my clients out 100% on what they expected. And another personal thing that I compliment that I got that I really did, take to heart is, when people more than just the exterior, but like my heart, you know what I mean? Because I really did heart. So I it's not noticed often, but when it is, I appreciate
That's so nice. So I got two more questions for you and then we
Of
can wrap it
course.
up. So I got one more question, one more personal question, and then we're going to do like a closing question. So if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one
Oh,
piece of advice, what would it be?
um, do what you feel called to do. I came to my parents when I was 18 and I said, listen, I'm going to be a real estate investor. And they were like, no, you're going to college. You're crazy. You're going to end up homeless, whatever. And I feel like if I would have done that when I was 18, I would be a millionaire by now.
Ah,
I did the
yeah,
college thing, and it just, just kept me stuck in the rat race. I mean, not to say college is bad, to each his own, everybody makes their own decisions. But I knew from a young age, before I even left high school, that this is what I wanted to do. And eventually I did come to it. So I think I would be so much further along if I kind of stayed with my gut.
what did you do right before this career, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no problem. So I worked in research administration for higher education. So I worked with colleges and hospitals in the research field, and I did all of the not negotiation, but I did all of the review of their contracts and budgets for any research award that came institution. And most recently, my last position was federal and private grants as well as clinical, because I was in the hospital.
Okay. And did that career shape you for, I guess, are there any transferable skills that you taken from that career over to your new career?
I mean, I've always had a lot of integrity when it comes to my work. I've always had a pretty high work ethic. And even in that career, I had been climbing up. So I think those things are transferable. My email etiquette, I think, is transferable. My
That's a
grammar
big
is a
one.
little bit better than some of my colleagues. So that is something that I noticed. Not to say I'm perfect, but like that sort of professional aspect
Yeah. I
of it.
have
I think, you know,
I have
some real
very
estate
similar
professionals I
skills. They're
don't
like,
see.
Jerome,
Yeah.
you write. They're like, Jerome, you write really well. And I'm like, yes. And I didn't realize that when I was in corporate, I was picking up on certain skills. And like you're saying, I picked up very my stuff is just different because I had like that corporate training background. So I
Right,
absolutely
right.
understand that.
And
So,
spreadsheets and things like that. But at the same time, like
yes,
those are kind of data entry things. Like I don't want to cap there. I'm glad I have those skills, but I'm happy to be able to expand it into something more that I can make
gotcha,
bigger and unlimited.
gotcha. So I know I said only two more questions, but I wanted to follow up on those other questions. We got one more question for you.
Absolutely.
And the final
Sure.
question is, we always like to make sure that people can find out more about you. So my question to you is, where can listeners find out more about you online?
Sure. So I have a website. It is RonnaRealtyGroup.com. So that's spelled RONNA. Realty, REALTY Group, GROUP.com. And then you can fill out the form and it will email me. I'm also on Instagram at Ronna is my realtor. Again, Ronna is spelled RONNA, all one word. And then on Facebook, facebook.com/Ronna Abdo Realtor. And that is my business page on Facebook. So to all your listeners, give me a follow, reach out to me. If you have any questions, I'm always available to help.
Ronna, thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure having
Thank
you.
you, Jerome. I appreciate it.
Do you have any final closing statements for the audience?
I mean, like I said, I'm always willing to help if you have any questions at all, even if you're just not sure, you don't know if you're ready or anything, reach out to me. I work with buyers, sellers, and investors. So I'm pretty well-rounded, and I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Ronna,
I
thank you so
promise I
much.
am approachable.
Thank you. I know you are. I would have never expected
Thank
you
you
to
so
say, oh,
much.
you got wrecked. You're very approachable. So thank you for being here. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you. And I hope for you to come back soon so we can go more detail on
I
some
would
of the
love
stuff that you do.
to, of
All
course.
right.
I would
All
love to.
right. Thank
Thank
you so
you
much.
so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye-bye.
All right.